Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another discussion video. Now my last discussion video got quite a bit of controversy, so hopefully I don't get as much. If you want to throw hatred at me for having an opinion, then by all means go for it. If that's the kind of person you are, that if someone disagrees with you, if you're just going to launch an attack, feel free to do so. This is a discussion video, so anyone is welcome to leave their comments. This discussion video is going to be on Hollywood and Hollywood in general, but more specifically on the horror genre, because this is where most of the problem I have with Hollywood is. So what I'm going to be talking about is the Hollywood of yesteryear and Hollywood as it is today. So basically what we had in the 1970s and 80s were great films like Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, I Spit on Your Grave, The Exorcist, The Omen, Rosemary's Baby. All of those classics were made in America, and therefore back in those days America was the place to be for horror, because they were original and it had a lot of atmosphere, and it felt like it just wasn't made for money. It was actually made for the passion of film. But as times progressed, now these days it's all about remakes, and it's all about basically copying ideas that have been done before, especially, back on the classics of America. They're doing their own sort of remakes like Evil Dead, Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave, The Hills Have Eyes. All those films are being remade. And if they're not remaking their own classics, they're remaking films from the foreign cinema. So in particular Oldboy, which is the most recent remake, and I'm actually disgusted that they're actually going to remake Oldboy, because for me, remakes do not work because it doesn't have the culture, it doesn't have the environment that the original has. Now, for example, I'm going to use a few films that have been remade that haven't matched the overall original from a foreign area. The first one is Let Me In, which was a remake of Let the Right One In. I thought Let the Right One In had a real atmosphere. It had a culture, a Swedish culture. It had the Swedish European backdrop, and therefore it had a charm to it. And it felt like it wasn't a film just made for money. But then it's been remade by America, and it doesn't work because it feels like it's a second-hand film. It feels like it's a movie that has been taken from a different culture and made into its own, but it just doesn't have that same feeling because it's not coming from the heart. Basically what it's doing is plagiarizing another idea. Now, yes, they paid for the rights, they're not stealing it, but they're copying it. So when Let Me In was happening, it didn't have the innocence of childhood. It didn't have the sense of dread that the original had, because it was from a different culture. It's from a European culture. European cinema is very different from American. Therefore, when Americans try to emulate that, it doesn't work. So therefore, I feel it is not right to remake a film from a different culture. Now, yes, if they remake films from their older days, like Last House on the Left, they're American. It's American, their horror culture in America, and that's why it feels better. But when you remake a horror film like Let the Right One In, a classic, it just doesn't feel right because it feels like they are treading territory that they don't understand. Then you've got other films like Wreck, which was absolutely phenomenal. But when it was remade for Quarantine, it just felt like a scene-for-scene rip-off, and that's exactly what it was. It was just made for an English-speaking audience. It didn't have that sheer sense of atmosphere and terror. And for me, I thought Quarantine was the biggest insult as far as remakes are concerned. Thankfully, other remakes have taken a few liberties to make it their own, but Quarantine made no real effort to do that. So that was a scene-for-scene, basically stealing Wreck, because American audiences on general are lazy. Now, yes, I said it. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, but I firmly believe that the American audience in general is very lazy, that they don't want to read subtitles and they don't want to give credit to a film that has been made outside their country. So basically, Hollywood is its own world. If it's not made in Hollywood, they want to make it their own. Therefore, it kind of feels like they've just plagiarized to the point where it's just made for money. Now, I know some people out there might have learning difficulties. They might not be able to read subtitles, but I can safely say that the majority of film goers in America are just lazy. Now, yes, as I said, there might be some people with learning difficulties. There might be someone who has, visual difficulties. I'm not, attacking each and every individual, but as a majority, as a whole, in general, I feel that the American audience is lazy. Therefore, it's forcing these filmmakers to abandon ideas, just copy ideas from foreign lands and try to bring it and make it their own. Therefore, because the American audience haven't been subjected to these great classics in foreign land, I feel that the American audiences are missing out, because these remakes do not have the atmosphere that the originals have, because it's taken from a different culture. Then you've got Oldboy, which is the most most recent travesty against film, where you've taken this South Korean gem and you've made it your own. Now, Spike Lee is the director. He says that he's taken liberties, he's going to make it his own, but you just can't make Old Boy your own. Therefore, you know, it's a South Korean film. It's got Korean culture, it's got Korean sort of music, Korean backdrops, Korean sort of society, whereas you're going to take it to America and it's going to feel like it's fake. It's going to feel like it's done of a second-hand film. It's basically just copied ideas and it's made of its own, but it's lacking that overall heart that makes the original so good. Therefore, you know, I feel that Hollywood is all about money these days, in particular the horror genre, but it also classifies into other genres such as thrillers. The Next 3 Days, which is a prime example. Next 3 Days, starring Russell Crowe, was a remake of a French film called Anything for Her. Now, yes, I thought that was a good remake, but once again, it was copying an idea just for raking in the dollars. So creativity is out the window these days. The days of the 70s and 80s are long gone. It's all about money. It's all about watering down films like World War Z. That's a zombie movie, but I felt that a lot of it was cut out because they wanted to make it appeal to a broader audience. So it's all about money. It's not about the passion of film, and that's where foreign cinema is so far ahead, is because they make films not to appeal to the majority, but to appeal to the fans of this specific genre. So they're not going to shy away from any details. They're not making it to appeal to a 10-year-old. They're making it to appeal to fans of the genre. Therefore, they're paying respect. And I feel that Hollywood are not paying respect. What they're doing is just making films for money, appealing to people who are lazy and that don't want to read subtitles, because all in all, you know, if I can read subtitles, anyone can read subtitles. I'm not the most intelligent person on earth. And it is not that difficult to basically read and watch at the same time, multitasking. Now, I'm not, as I said, you know, a lot of people are going to come on here and say, oh, you're attacking all Americans, you just hate Americans. No, there are some American films that I absolutely adore, and there's still American films that I adore. But I feel that the majority of horror films in particular are very lazy. They're just made in for the cash flow, and they're not made in for the love of the genre. And I feel that that is the biggest criticism I have of the American sort of the Hollywood cinema, is that it's all about money. It's not about the passion of film, and all of these remakes are basically insulting the originals, and whereas they should just be left completely alone. So a lot of it does come down to laziness. A lot of it comes down from the fact that some people can't handle the fact that maybe outside Hollywood better films are being made. So they've just got to copy ideas. Nothing's original, and therefore nothing really seems to have a lot of heart in it. Now, all of the future, I feel, in horror in Hollywood is the lower budget stuff, because lower budget can't afford a remake, therefore they have to make creative ideas. So all the creative response and the creative talent is coming from low budget cinema, because they have to rely on a story. They just can't splash money everywhere. So that is a saving grace to American cinema, is that the lower budget independent stuff is really coming out there, and I actually feel that is the way of the future for America. But until they stop stealing ideas, until they stop basically making movies just for money, I feel that the problem with American cinema will not improve anytime soon. So if you agree or disagree, please feel free to leave a comment. You know, this is just my opinion. Don't attack me for it. If you want to attack me, then by all means go for it. I wouldn't have made this video if I had a thin sort of skin. So yeah, if you agree or disagree, please feel free to enter the discussion. So hopefully you have enjoyed my third discussion video, and until next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.